What's that breath work all about? Would you like to tell our audience about that?
Yes, absolutely. So the breathwork has been something that I've done for a long, long time. Not always conscious of doing specific techniques, but always using it probably for the last 20 plus years in a form of therapy, through meditation, through hypnotherapy, and just exercise as well. So it's always been a involved part of my life, for myself when I first started out, just to help me on my journey of life and where it all began. And then from there, it evolved into learning more and delving deeper into um, the mind, the body, and how it all works. And over the last few years, long time, few years have been a I guess evolution of the breath and learning specifics of how you can transition or utilize your breathing techniques, different breathing techniques to shift your emotional state, to shift your physical state, and to allow you to be in charge of your body and your mind and the emotions as much as you can. Like, and I guess that's the short version of it. It's been a journey of long learnings of, uh, I guess, going through my own journeys of life, stresses, challenges, excitement, and exploring life and what you can do with it, and then finding out that there's so much untapped possibilities and potential within that space. And it's free. It's available every day because we kind of need to breathe, and we've been doing it since we were born. So generally we know how to do it. Yet there's from what I've learned, there's specifics, uh, styles and techniques and ways to breathe that will help you to unfold and help you to transition how you live.
That sounds amazing. And you got me when you said you can work on your physical state and your mind as well. Does that mean, for example, I have back pain and I can like breathe it away? Does it work like that?
Depending on the back pain, like if it's a obviously if it's a broken back, it's probably a different scenario. Like obviously check with your therapists, whoever you go and see about your physical body in those respects. Yet in the same token, it still works very well with releasing tension. If you have muscle tension, if you have muscle soreness, there is, yeah, specific techniques that you can utilize to help ease the muscles and ease the tension through your back. And
Wow.
yeah, there's been lots of times where I've utilized it for myself after doing some physical exercise, and I used to run uh, trail running through the bush, like marathons and things like that. So you always end up with pain and niggles and stuff through your body. So breathwork was still part of that as well. It's among other things like stretching and working through the body, but the breath part, I found a way that you can help ease the muscle pain within your body as well, which is huge, huge concept. And it's just through breathing. There's nothing more to it. Like
Wow.
obviously stretching and other aspects, but there's no other involvement in popping a pill or anything like that. And again, it does depend on the degree of pain that you're going through. So always
Mhm.
check first before you just rely just solely on the breathing. There is other things that need to help you
Mhm.
with that space as well. But it's definitely a big part in shifting your physical state. Yeah. So it's not just
Wow.
changing how you feel emotionally and through your mind, it's also physical shifts and quite quickly too.
Mm. So when you say it can also be about your mind, meaning I have a real bad day, I feel unhappy or even depressed. You say that even then breathing can like brighten your mind, make you happier. How does that work behind the scenes?
Well, behind the scenes, you start to, um, well, firstly, like if you're in a depressed or anxious state, a lot of the time your breathing is in a shallow space. So you're breathing short and shallow through the top part of your chest. Now, in that movement in itself, your lungs have a lot more capacity. And so within that space, like if you're breathing shallow, your lungs are compressing against your heart. And if you're anxious and in that depressed state, your heart rate is generally at a higher rate. It's pumping faster because you're in a stress response, which is your sympathetic nervous system firing up adrenaline so you can go into survival mode as if you're being, it's basically on our primal instincts of survival, being chased by a dinosaur. All right, you get a shot of adrenaline through your system so you can run or you can fight or you can, freeze basically. Um, so, and your breath rate speeds up. It gets shorter, it's shallow, and it's just like, all right, go. It's just a short effect. In this day and age, there's not too many dinosaurs chasing us around, but there's other stresses that happen. So within that space, we're still in that short, shallow breath, but there's for a lot of people that I've worked with and for myself as well, things I've been through, the stress continues. The dinosaur doesn't run away and find another piece of meat. Like the stress is daily living. It's on your phone. It's on your computer. It's everything you see around you and hear around you. There's lots of different aspects. People, places, and things like that that put you in a stress state just by sitting in the one spot. Yeah, the adrenaline and the energy that's been put into our system, the stress response is not getting utilized. We're not running and using the fuel. We're not running from that problem, but internally we want to run, but then we either freeze. Generally, we go into freeze mode. And that's where health issues start to build. If that's continually happening and you're constantly in a low emotional state, depressed or anxious or stressed, overwhelmed, those sorts of effects tend to have a really huge part long term on your health and well-being. And and lifestyle comes the after effect from that. So being able to, I guess, work with a potential of your breathing space, extending the breath down to your belly allows your lungs, like on a biology level, extends your lungs, opens up the lungs, which takes a lot of pressure off your heart and allows your heart rate to drop down into a more of a relaxed state as opposed to fast and adrenalized. Now, this is actually called the parasympathetic nervous system. So it drops it into the relaxed, restore, and recover space where your body heals. Your body goes into a balanced space and creating more alkaline blood flow and homeostasis. So you're working at an optimal level. Energy levels are more balanced. Your adrenaline drops down, and it's in that space of recovery as opposed to fight and run and activity. Our body needs time to heal, and if we're not giving ourselves that time to heal, then it's constantly under stress. And this is what people end up saying: "Oh, I'm having a burnout. I've burnt my candle at both ends, at every end." So it's being able to be aware of how you're breathing. Breath awareness is a huge key element. This is what I teach in my programs. Being aware of how you're breathing, being aware of the level of breathing. So are you breathing high and shallow in your chest, or are you breathing deep down into the belly? And so I guess the outcome of that is I guess the amazing and the most, I guess, mind-blowing element. We just think that our body just does the things by itself, which is, there's so many automated processes and systems that happen that we don't have to consciously think about. Yet the breath is one of the key elements that is an automated process, but we can consciously shift it. And within that space, by consciously shifting our breath, uh, consciously, we can affect our heart rate. And this day and age, there's so many issues with stress creating heart issues, heart problems, heart attacks, and those sorts of things, and a whole lot of other range of elements. But a big part is the pressure on the heart. Now that if we're constantly squashing the heart and putting pressure on it, of course it's going to, you know, eventually go, all right, I'm out.
Enough.
Yeah. So it's a really important part to just be aware of where you're breathing from, how much it is affecting your entire system. And you know, that's kind of delving deeper into it, but there's lots of simplistic elements that we can do on a daily basis to simply just regulate self, regulate your emotions, be aware of when you're starting to feel depression or starting to feel anxious, starting to feel the stress. There's other key elements as well, which is by changing the situation or changing your perspective of the situation. But the breath is one thing that we can do really quickly and in any situation, because we're always breathing. So it's a key element. You don't have to be sitting into, I always say, sitting in a nice warm bath with lavender oil and candles. You don't have to wait for that moment to put yourself into a relaxed space. This is a tool that you have within yourself that you can use anywhere, anytime, and in any moment, as long as you're captivating the consciousness and aware of your breathing, which is huge. Like, why haven't we taught this before? Why has this never been part of our, biology, and when you're learning at school about health and the body and how it all works?
Yeah.
Key part, huge. And so I guess for me, I'm so excited about it because the more I look into it, the more I find of how intricate it is to our health, our well-being, our energy levels, and how we can actually shift emotional states quickly simply by shifting our breath in a single moment. I'm not saying we're jumping from depressed to complete happiness in one little step, but it's a little bit at a time that starts to change the whole outcome. And that's where
So when I, for example, I'm interested in that work, I want to start working with you, how will that take place? Are there group courses, or do I get little snippets, do that at home, 5 minutes a day? How do you start working with people?
There's multi levels, depending on I guess levels where people are at in their life and what they want to do. I run group classes and group courses where people can delve in a bit deeper on the cognitive, so the mental side, so mental mindfulness and getting aware of what's happening in their life and starting to shift their life on a deeper scale, and becoming aware of their belief systems, their habits, and their cycles that they live in and relive in, especially if a lot of people that I work with, and I guess the basis of my work is stress and anxiety. So the people that are in that level constantly repeating their patterns and their programs that create stress, anxiety, and on that level. So we work on a deeper level. So we utilize the mindset, the mindfulness of being aware of what's happening in their life, yet I give them practical tools that they can take away and use on a daily basis. So, and going back to keeping it simple, because, there's so much going on in life. We don't need any more 20-step process to go and change things. It's about learning simple effective and powerful techniques that happen really quickly. So I offer those and help people into putting them into practice on a daily practice for themselves. I guess that's on the bigger end of it, going a bit deeper. If you're just starting out and you're curious, like I bring it back down to a couple of hours. We do a workshop where we do some breathing, where it's nice and getting into the cycle of the breath and learning some techniques that you can take away and use as well, you know, in a group setting. And then we go into, I've recorded some videos and some training videos where people can, yeah, as you mentioned before, like a 5-minute daily practice. And it's being able to put it into practice daily. You know, a lot of the time, a lot of people I talk to, I'm too busy. I was like, here's a 5-minute one. It doesn't take that long. You spend more time making a coffee than you do. You can do it while you're making your coffee if you really want to. So I've created some videos where people can learn and step into that as well and find out and test it out for themselves. So training them on the technique, how to use it, the style of the breath, and then what the outcome can be if they do that. So yeah, lots of different levels there where I offer training videos, some free stuff in there, and then there's some group classes which are just a regular. Because my idea of this is I've worked in the fitness industry for a long time, and it felt there's always this key element missing. They're great with creating the physical movement, they're great with creating the nutritional side and finding balance within that space. But on an emotional level, it's more like you need to go and see a therapist, or you need to, you know, don't talk about it. There's probably a huge way, and just bury it down and just exercise harder. And that I find that like a lot of people just go use the gym as a therapy. Yet, in my experience within that space, when they go into a gym and they're exercising, they're putting more stress on the body, on the physicality, and also your nervous system. So if they're doing hard, rigorous exercising or lifting heavy weights, your body is under pressure and stress and stress and stress. So if you're going in there stressed and anxious already, you're just kind of adding to the level. And so the people that wanting to get the results they're after, by going in stressed and emotional, they're actually either plateauing and hitting a void and wonder why. They go, I'm training hard, I'm eating all this good food, and yet nothing's working. And so then I go, so how are you feeling? How's life going for you? And they're like, oh, I don't sleep. Or I'm too stressed to do anything else besides I just make time. Like it's like I've got my half an hour, I come in and smash myself in the gym and I get really sweaty, and then I go home and I go back to my life. I was like, wow, you know, there's more to it. So the fitness element is a missing key in that process, and I think I've found it, and I'm using it, and I'm now again, and I guess another level that I use the breath work is this year specifically taking it to gyms. Like I've been working with gyms over the last 10 years and teaching them about stress and working on the mindset stuff, and also meditation levels and a bit of breath work. And the last year, 2 years, I've been working with them specifically, teaching them breathing techniques to use before training, during training, after training, and also the mindset to link that up to help them to have more balance going into all of it. So then the results that they're after, they're going to get a lot quicker as well, because they're internally exercising the mind, the nervous system, as well as their muscles and the whole systems all together. So it's a huge, I guess, part and parcel in the evolution of humans that it's a necessity to bring that in, because when we're exercising, we're breathing. And so to bring in the awareness of how you're breathing can change the game of the results they get and how much more enjoyment they can have within their exercise. And from the work I've done so far, the results have been pretty amazing. Just from different levels. So a highly cardio-based exercise, like going for a run or long runs, and being able to regulate your breathing, to regulate your heart rate within that space, the endurance levels increases, the performance rate increases. And then on the other side, where people are, say, like lifting weights and going heavier, again, endurance and performance lifts, but it's a different level. It's not just cardio based, but their muscle and power and endurance to lift the weights. It's almost doubles of what they thought they could do. And this is within a few minutes of doing a specific style of breathing. I was like, wow, more possibilities within that space. And this is just scratching the surface. So it's pretty amazing and powerful to watch and to experience the evolution of an idea and put it into a physical practice, and the results are like speak for themselves. It's huge. Love it.
Well, yeah, that sounds huge. It's like that breath work brings not only inner peace and more happiness, but also like gives you more performance, more power, and a better ability to deal with everyday life stress situations.
100%. Yeah. So it's like the whole package. It's interesting too, because a few years back, there's a lot of people going exercising at the gym, but I wish I could have a yoga class and a meditation class and an exercise gym all together, so I can get all of the things instead of going to different studios and doing different exercises at the different time. So, I guess that planted a seed in my mind and opened that up to okay, so how do we do that? And here we are.
Wow, amazing. I have one more question about that breath work, because there is that Wim Hof method about breathing. And this guy always says you should like hop into a very cold lake or river afterwards. What's that for? What's that about?
Again, it's a multi-level sort of question. There's lots to that. It's not just as simple as doing some breathing and jumping in some cold water just to shock the system. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend last week, and they were asking a similar sort of question. It's like, why would I want to jump into cold water?
Yeah, that's my question.
Because the guy, his brother was saying, you need to shock your system. You need to shock your system to get out of your stress and out of this and out of that, which to a degree, yes. But at the same time, it's like again, delving deeper into the breath work, you're regulating your nervous system. You're training yourself to deal with stress better by being able to shift your physical state and your emotional state and your mental state all within the breath space. So, and then there's the element of the cold. Going into cold, your body naturally can go into shock if you're already in shock. Same concept as the gym scenario. If you're going into the gym's stressed, which is a state of shock, you're going to add more shock. So the breath regulates your nervous system, so then it can function at its highest level, the most balanced level. Not so much balanced level, but it can function to keep you alive. So the process of, and I guess the whole back end of all of this I was doing is stress is not a bad thing. I remember when I started at the start, I was like, if you're constantly in stress all the time, compounding stress on your body and your systems, that's when it's a problem. But if some stress is good for you, like if you had a fire on your bum, it would get you jumping out of the way so you wouldn't get burnt, right? So that's a little stress level, a stress response. All right, boom, oh, I don't want to get burnt. Move. So stress gets you into action to create an outcome. And you can put this into a daily life scenario is, people wanting to create a business, people wanting to get into a relationship, people wanting to start a new job or career, or, these sorts of things. It's like just daily living, but a lot of the time people are holding themselves back because of fear, or they put themselves go into stress mode and go, oh, I can't stress, I need to calm down, and run away from the stress. It's either you jump in and go head into the stress, or you run away from it. So there's a towards and away scenario here. A lot of the time we're running towards stuff because it feels good, not because it's stressful. And a lot of the time, if it's stressful, people generally run the other way until they're comfortable enough and safe enough that they don't feel the stress. Does that make sense? So in that level? So within that space, talking about the breath and the cold puts in a stress response, because it's going to be cold, it's going to hurt. Even if you're just having a cold shower, not let alone jumping into an ice bath, which is like 2 degrees, 1 degree or less. It's really chilly.
Really is.
But the response that goes into your mind before you jump into that space is where the power comes in. So say for the Wim Hof, he's training people to deal with depression, anxiety, health issues, and stress responses, and training your body to regulate itself. And on a physical level, we're so conditioned to have air conditioning, nice climate, warm clothes, and cold climates if it's too hot. Yet our body is naturally designed to regulate itself. Yet we're not giving it the chance to create that. So this is why it's so huge of what he's offering is, and it is why it's gone global and changing so many people's lives, because, and on huge levels, scientifically, physically, mentally, and emotionally, is that it's changing their life so much that they're able to deal with stress better. Underlying key of all of it, breathing and regulating your nervous system so you can calm down, jumping into cold water, and dealing with that stress response your body goes into, the initial, oh, it's cold, and then being able to shift that into an ease space. The more that you do that, you're training your body, your mind, and your system to deal with stress better. So then when stress happens in life, and that's just part of life, you deal with it differently. And you can recognize when the stress is coming, and you can breathe yourself into a regulated space. So not only the physicality of the ice, but it's the mental game that happens. Survival mode, your brain goes into fight, flight, run, 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 run. But that's not always the case. It's like you could be sitting on the phone reading a message and you want to fight and flight.
Yeah.
So it's about taking a breath, bringing yourself and dropping down into a more calm state through that space, which helps you to deal with that situation better. And not only that, when we get in a highly stressed and emotional state, and it doesn't matter if it's not always about the doom and gloom and the stress and the challenges, even if we're super, super, super excited, our intelligence tends to drop down because we're just in the emotion of it. We've got the blinkers of how good this thing is or how stressful this thing is, and we don't see an opportunity for a solution or another outcome. And so, again, bringing it back to that space where you can regulate your nervous system and your body and your mind, it allows you to open up your awareness. Literally, your peripheral vision opens up and you can see opportunity and solutions and possibilities on a bigger scale than if you're in the emotion of it all. So it's not to say not to feel anything. It's about being aware of sometimes if you're in high states, negative states, positive states. It's all a state of being. So it's all necessary and all possible, and all there for us to grow and to build on, to create this whole nother level of potential and power of bringing the power back to you. And this is why I'm so passionate about, and what I guess the naming of my breath work is reconnect. We're reconnecting to you, like your true self, your body, your internal voice that tells you, and you know the answers to everything. Yet we've been so conditioned that outside has the answer. So we're bringing it back in. And so the ice, the cold helps you to bring it in, because you've got nothing else to do, and no other voices are carrying on in there, because you're right in the cold. You're feeling it. You're like, oh, this is chilly. That's not the exact words that you use, but on par with that. But it's a relearning of, it's possible that you can do stuff for you. Your body has so much potential when you can tap into that, if you choose to. And that's always the key. You've got choice. Yet there's been a lot of that, I guess, essentially sort of the feeling of it's been taken away, but you've still got choice within any moment, because it's how you react and how you deal with the situation. And there's lots of other, I guess, modalities and techniques that you can add into that to create your balance, your happiness, your well-being. And yet the quickest way that I find to do that, if you want to try a little exercise, is when you breathe in, fill your belly up, fill your chest, put a little smile on your chin. And then when you breathe out, roll your eyes down and feel into that space. And you breathe in, and you look up, smile, breathe out, let it go. You do that a few times and notice how you feel. And what that does on a biology and physical and emotional level, it shifts your state out of a stress state really quickly, really quickly. So that's a little bit about the ice.